So I have you here next to our canoe. This is our 16-foot Old Town we take out as a family. It's quite the experience when we go out. This is a large beast of a canoe with 16 feet with 4 people, me and my wife and my 2 boys in it, then with all of our gear. It's pretty heavy, and our normal mode is we go to the river, we go upstream up the river, paddle as far as I can stand it, and then we'll stop, take a break, and then come back down river to the truck. So we can't really go very far upriver just because of my it's mainly me doing the most of the paddling. So I've been toying with the idea of getting a trolling motor to put on the canoe. So on this project we'll kind of go with kind of show you how that mount that I made for it, and maybe take you to the pond and show you what the speed is on this trolling motor. Here's the trolling motor itself. I got a Minn Kota 30 pound thrust trolling motor. It's a transom mount, so we can mount it to a kind of makeshift transom that I'm making out of wood, and I believe it's 30 inches long, and that seems to be a good length for us. For the canoe, gets down in the water a good bit and isn't overly deep where we're hitting trees and whatnot in our shallow rivers. But I've only used it 1 or 2 times, so it looks brand new right now, but kind of this is the gives you an idea of what the motor itself looks like. Well, here's the mount that I've made. It's pretty simple, just 2 pieces of wood that we're going to sandwich between the edges of the canoe here. So originally had it to where I made it to where I would be on the right side of me, where this would be mounted over here, and the motor would be on my right. But as I got to thinking about it, I think it would be better on the left, just because I like to paddle on the right. So basically, you turn this around now, and sandwich this together, and then the motor will mount right here. So right now this is the back seat. I have it mounted. It could mount a few inches behind the back seat, and we'll start getting into some of the measurements here. But basically, I wanted to sandwich the wood pieces together just so it wouldn't be permanently mounted. So right now I have this. This is I think it's a 3/4 inch thick piece of wood, kind of leftover that I had. The total length is 30 inches. It sticks out past the canoe about 10 inches, maybe a little longer than that. And then this block up here where the motor mounts is 8 inches long. So anyway, so this is it, the top piece, and then the bottom piece I cut, and it barely fits pretty snug in with the boat itself as far as the width goes. And then I have the bolts in here, and it bolts up pretty good, and there's still some wiggle room to kind of get it nice and straight. So these are 4-inch long 5/16 bolts, and they go through this. You need to get bolts that are long enough to go through the top and bottom board, and then a little bit of a gap here, and have a good 1/2 inch at least to bite on. And then I got these nuts here that will make it nice, and you can just finger tight on the back or on the underneath, and makes it easy to kind of take it on and off there at the river. So anyway, so that's what that is. And then using 5/16 bolts makes it easy to bring just 1 wrench. So once you tighten that down, to hold a wrench here, this is a 1/2 inch wrench, and it holds the bolt really well. But also this is the same size to use on the battery when we connect the motor to the battery. So that's just 1 wrench you can bring with you. But basically I'm going to get this mounted up here, and then I'll show you the motor mounted to this. Okay, now I've got the mount cinched down tight, and it's got both bolts tightened up with the wrench. And you may think that just having this cinched down and kind of basically just sandwiching the canoe, if that's going to support it, but it's moving the whole canoe, it's not sliding at all. So this isn't going anywhere. Really just 2 bolts cinching it down is all it needs to to be done for this to mount it to the canoe. Makes it temporary. You can just take it on and off when needed. And then here's the motor mounted on here, just slides on. Works out well that this board is on the back side. That way, the way this thing arches up when you want to raise it is it goes that way. If it was flipped around, this board isn't quite tall enough that this part runs into this side. So right now this is about 2 3/4 inches tall. If I made it more like 3 inches tall or so, I could have flipped it around, but I like it this way because that way you can, if you're running into some sand or some real shallow water, you can really hit this button and get it trimmed up pretty quickly. So really this is all it is. It just mounts right here and you cinch it down with these large wing nuts and it's not going anywhere. So the system works out pretty good, and you know, I'll get you zoomed out so you can see what it kind of looks like, but basically that's it. You know, that's not much to it. So gave you all the dimensions for the mount itself. Yours will be a little different because of your canoe, but you know, basically it needs to stick out. I'd say at least 10 inches was about my good comfort level for me. And then the block give you at least about 8 inches to kind of give you some room to play with it, and to make this block at least, I'd better to go 3 inches tall just to give you some play there. So anyway, so that's what that looks like, and then I'll show you what it looks like on the canoe kind of zoomed out. Here it is kind of in line with the canoe. It doesn't stick out too much further than the side, and then when you come down, it's down below the bottom of the canoe. So that's, the water line is maybe, you know, somewhere in there, you know, halfway through the hull or maybe a little less. And so this is nice, a good, you know, 8-12 inches in the water, and so it works out pretty good for what we're doing. So then basically I have the battery up here kind of right at my feet, and the cables just hook in to there and just cinch it down on one of those marine batteries you can get from the auto parts store. So anyway, so this is what it looks like. I think it works out pretty good, and we'll hopefully get you on the lake here real quick, and we'll see how fast this thing goes. All right, so that's the end of this project. A nice little transom you can build for your canoe. Nice afternoon project. You can take your canoe out, you know, and a little bit of extra help on those tough upstream paddles. So hope this helps you out. Gives you some measurements to go by. What mine, you know, the measurements on mine, how it worked, and then you can take that to fit your canoe. And you know, good to show you some of that, how it performed on that open water. Went up to 4 miles an hour, and you can see how, you know, maybe I can take you on a river and actually see how it performs in more open water. So anyway, Blackbeard and I saying thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next project.